I feel like a guy like Yasiin Bey, who has made projects with a lot of depth, who has really made a lot of sacrifices to kind of speak his mind and stand up for people, I think there's nothing Drake could say, against this personally.
So would you say that the lack of substance of Drake's music is I mean, I don't think that's what makes it pop though.
Speaking of dominance, Drake, we talk about him all the time. He's been really, really dominant in rap music, the past, 14 years, maybe 15 years. Damn, since Best I Ever Had came out.
We're halfway to my second decade remarks.
Yeah, you need to drop those remarks after these last albums. And
I don't care. The numbers still speak for themselves.
Yeah, the numbers. Who cares about the numbers, man, at this point, for real? But, Yasiin Bey, a.k.a. Mos Def, he was recently interviewed. And I got to find, the full interview to this because I love hearing Mos Def talk. Mm-hmm. But, the clip went around of him talking about Drake when asked, do you consider Drake hip hop?
And here's what he had to say.
Drake hip hop?
Why are you doing this to me? Drake is pop to me. In the sense, like, if I was in Target in Houston and I heard a Drake song, it feels like a lot of his music is compatible with shopping.
Damn.
Commercial music.
Or it's music, shopping with an edge in certain instances.
Fair. I like Drake's music, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
Of course. I mean,
it's commercial, entertaining, fun, good, it's formulaic music. It's
likable.
Likable music, yeah.
It's likable.
But is it... I'm going to leave you alone. We're going to move.
Oh, man. He looked like he wanted to say a lot more than likable.
I mean, he did say a lot more, but he kind of just talked about the state of the world.
He did.
The American empire crumbling, and also consumerism, and how Drake's music, is in parallel to that.
He was deep. He definitely covered a wide range of topics in that conversation. I want to listen to the whole thing. Did you get a chance to or no?
No, I didn't. Yeah. But I did see just the clips that they posted about this specifically. But what did you take from this? I mean, you just mentioned your own prediction saying, Drake could be the greatest if he continues this run for 20 years.
I mean, honestly, I feel like we've talked about it for a little while now. Drake hasn't really been making music for his initial fans, the fans who were there for the first decade. Now he's targeting a much broader population, definitely the pop sort of genre. But he's always been a chameleon. He's always bounced from trend to trend, from putting on lesser known artists and things like that, doing things a little bit differently, maybe not as creative as we might like, but at the same time stretching the boundaries a little bit more than you typically see from some hip hop artists.
Is that hip hop though? Him trying to appeal to everybody, and appealing to Target and being commercial the way Mos Def explained. Is his music made for shopping? Do you agree with that comment?
Oh man. I don't know. I find it hard to answer that question.
Why?
Because I'm literally sitting here thinking about if I'm going shopping at Target, am I gonna have my headphones on and put on Drake?
Oh my God.
And the answer is no for me.
That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the music.
I know he's talking about the music they would play in Target, but even then, I don't think so.
Troy, is Drake hip hop? What do you take from these comments from Mos Def?
Yeah, no, I think Mos Def, Yasiin Bey comes from a generation from growing up in the boom bap-ish era where people like Drake, people who are experimenting with hip hop now, none of this stuff would be called hip hop back then. So I think he's coming with that mindset. But I think in today's society, it's definitely pop music. Hip hop is, or at least it was up until maybe last year, the most dominant form of music, which makes it kind of pop music. So I think he's right, but I think in the sense that he's saying that, yeah, they played in Target. It is commercially successful, but I think at the end of the day, I think it is still hip hop. Hip hop kind of formed into pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think, and I will say, I think that his comments are more of an indictment on the content that Drake has in his music rather than the way it sounds.
okay.
I don't think it's as much on because if you think about, for example, Wu-Tang or even some of Moses' work, they incorporated different instruments and things that typically might not be that boom bap, like you're saying. It might not be your stereotypical hip hop of the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, but the content of the music was still street and hip hop or bringing knowledge and lyricism and things like that. Whereas I think the content of Drake's music is what Yasiin has more of a issue with, based on especially some of the other comments he made in the conversation around capitalism and things like that. Like, I think that's really his issue with the music.
Yeah, I just want to play something real quick, man. From the song "Check the Rhyme," at the end, Q-Tip, he talks about this,
Rap is not pop. If you call it that, then stop.
So he said, "Rap is not pop. If you call it that, then stop." Is that still true today? Because for me, I think if you're a pop artist, the roots of hip hop kind of go. It's like I don't know, rebellious culture, underground culture. You have to be saying something. And I feel like Drake is extremely commercial, where he never really takes a strong stance against anyone except for Instagram models that he fucked and won't DM him back, or all the other women he wants to take shots at, or any rapper. Yeah, any rapper who says something against him and hurts his feelings, or he'll address on the live stream. But to me, that's it's not really saying anything. He never goes against the grain to state a real opinion that matters. And I feel like that's why a lot of his music is here today and gone tomorrow. Like it doesn't really stick, and you'll never hear anyone say this about Kendrick Lamar, who has pop records, who has, appealed to, a worldwide audience. And he's the one who has taken risk with every one of his albums to have a different sound. In 2015, Kendrick was coming off of Good Kid, Mad City, and he put out The Pimp a Butterfly, which had a totally different sound, had a totally different message, and was still ultra successful, and only grew from that because he was feeding the fans music of substance. Drake puts out like microwave music, and I feel like over time, okay, he'll get his Billboard numbers, but at the root of it, you're not really saying nothing. And as he gets older, it's kind of lame, And I feel like a guy like Yasiin Bey, who has made projects with a lot of depth, who has really made a lot of sacrifices to kind of speak his mind and stand up for people, I think there's nothing Drake could say, against this, personally.
So would you say that the lack of substance of Drake's music is I mean, I don't think that's what makes it pop, though.
What do you mean?
Because there's pop music that has substance. Okay. And don't ask me to name a song right now. I don't listen to much pop, but there is. I don't know. I think it's all subjective, honestly. There's times where Drake has hip hop on his album. When he came out with the deluxe version of his most recent project, there were songs that were clear hip hop on there. But he still caters to a very broad audience. Jen Graham says, I think Drake is hip hop. I think hip hop is a broad genre. And I kind of agree. I think that over time, hip hop has come to mean more than just what rappers like Mos Def initially intended when they were laying verses and things like that.
Yeah, it's been commercialized. It's evolved into a commercial that correlates directly with consumerism, and we talked about rappers like Sweetie having a Happy Meal before she put out an album. So that's just what the state of music is now. Unfortunately, it's been bastardized, and you could say Drake is that on steroids. And I feel like, true artists who actually go against the grain and have something to say, take risk, I find value in that, and I feel like the roots of hip hop, and Drake also, he's not even American. He's still trying to prove, that he fits into this culture. He's not really a part of this culture. I mean, he halfway grew up in it because his dad's a Black American. He would come here in the summertime when he grew up, but it's just not who he really kind of is naturally. So I feel like that's why he's a chameleon. That's why he tries to fit in to all different types of cultures. He wants to be a London rapper. He wants to be Caribbean. He wants to do Afro beats. He wants to do all these different things, but he never starts the wave up. He just jumps onto it and then, moves on to the next thing. The same way he does his women. So shout out to Drake, man. Super successful, but I really like what Yasiin Bey had to say. I don't know. And Drake's fans who, were coming back at Yasiin, calling him a hater, saying, oh, he's just bitter. Like, he doesn't care about anything you guys care about. He doesn't care about anything Drake raps about. And you guys have no idea how surface level and stupid you sound when you kind of make these dumb arguments.
He popped up just to help somebody out with the interview. like honestly. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was definitely a bit tongue in cheek. Like he was sly with his comments. Yeah,
I'm not mad at it. Mad at it. Shout out to Yasiin Bey.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he's more outspoken this year. I know he's been really outspoken about what's happening in Palestine.
Hopefully, he stops dropping music on fucking Lumosity or wherever else they drop their stuff.
Oh yeah, forget.
Put it on regular streaming platforms, please.
He's going against the machine.
Okay.
It is what it is. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on Spotify. Follow on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.
All the apps. We're everywhere. We are everywhere.